Hey everybody, Danielle Hargenrader here. Welcome to another episode of Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator. Today I am super excited to bring you Gary Scheiner. And as usual, I'm going to read the bio and we're going to get right into the good stuff. So Gary Scheiner is owner and clinical director of Integrated Diabetes Services, a practice located just outside of Philadelphia, specializing in intensive insulin therapy and advanced education for children and adults. He and his staff provide consultations throughout the world via phone and the internet. Gary is a master's level exercise physiologist. He has been a certified diabetes educator for 20 years and has had type 1 diabetes for 30 years. Gary served as the 2014 Diabetes Educator of the Year for AADE. He has written dozens of articles for diabetes trade publications and 6 books, including Think Like A Pancreas, a practical guide to managing diabetes with insulin. He lectures nationally and internationally for people with diabetes, as well as professionals in the healthcare industry. In addition to serving on the faculty of Children with Diabetes and the board of directors for JDRF, Gary volunteers for the American Diabetes Association, Diabetes Sisters, and Set-A-Babe diabetes camps. Gary has been happily married for 25 years and has 4 wonderful kids. A fitness fanatic, he enjoys playing basketball, running, cycling, and cheering on his Philadelphia sports teams, which I can get right on with. So thank you for joining us today, Gary. How are you?
Good. So you see my phone?
Oh, awesome. I was going to say I have a Flyers candle over there, but I don't want to get up and go get it. But actually, you're the first person I've interviewed that we're kind of local buddies. So, let's not aggravate too many people by So thank you for joining us and taking the time. So what we're going to do is, as we usually do on the show, we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to ask you to please share with us your story of diagnosis with type 1 and also kind of the path that you walked to get from where you were then to where you are now.
Well, it was a long time, 30 years ago, so more than half my life now with type 1 diabetes. Ironically, I was diagnosed in a little town just outside of Houston, Texas, called Sugar Land. I thought that was...
That's ironic.
Yeah, if you can get diabetes, that's probably the place to get it. My diagnosis wasn't all that typical. I went in probably an entire summer just peeing my brains out, drinking voraciously, losing tons of weight. And finally went to the doctor to have it checked because I saw an episode of the show MASH, and one of the characters on the show had diabetes and had all the same symptoms I had. So I went to the doctor.
Because TV doesn't usually portray diabetes in the right way, so it's good that they were doing it back then.
TV saved me. So I went to that doctor. He diagnosed me, sent me to an endocrinologist in the city. Nice guy. Gave me the usual rhetoric, 5 years, your diabetes will be cured, but, we got to take insulin and all that. So I got started on, NPH and regular, big nasty needles. I had a meter that was the size of a brick. Actually, he sent me home with urine strips, and then I went and got a meter at the pharmacy. But it took 2.5 minutes to get the readings. And It's like when I go out and lecture at JDRF conferences now, I like to bring a lot of those old tools with me just to show people, what it was like managing.
Yeah.
And I have clients now who've had it 40, 50 years, and they're showing me, stuff that they use that was before I was even diagnosed. And some of it's pretty scary.
Yeah, I wish I had the wherewithal to have kept all that stuff from 24 years ago, but I didn't.
I get donations from people, and we created a little museum in our office. People love to
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should come in
sometime. I was going to say, I'm going to come see that sometime for sure.
Yeah, there's a really good pizza shop downstairs in my building, so I'll treat you to lunch. Get you a cheese.
I don't eat meat, but I'll taste some pizza.
That good pizza. You can get it with anything you want on it.
Cool.
So I was a college student. I was a freshman, between freshman and sophomore years at the time. So I went back to school on insulin, and I had my friends were really great about it. Before dinner, they would bet on what my blood sugar was, and they started asking questions about well, did you work out today? What did you eat? They were starting to get into it. They'd all throw $1 on the table, and I'd do my blood sugar, and winner takes it all. So I was very passionate about sports and exercise ever since I was a young kid. So after graduating, I went to grad school and got a master's in exercise physiology. So that was my chosen field. And there weren't a lot of hospitals or diabetes programs that were hiring exercise specialists, except one, which was the Joslin clinics. They had a really good, they call a multidisciplinary team at all of their centers. So I latched on and got a job with the Joslin Center in Philadelphia, and that's what brought me here. I was living in Chicago at the time, so I moved to Philadelphia and worked at the Joslin Clinic for just a few years, and I learned the unfortunate truth about the business world, in that you have managers who don't know what they're doing and administrators who dictate things that they shouldn't be. We had a really good team, a great center, did good work, but they started paring it down after a couple of years. So I just decided at that point, I saw a need out there for people with diabetes, especially insulin users, who needed more help than they could get from their providers. So I started my own practice and slowly built it up. I was still doing a little bit of work with Joslin, but gradually did less with them, more with my own practice. I started out in a little room in my house, and kind of like yours there. Yours is a big room now. And gradually built up. I moved into an office and then a second, and now I'm in my third office space and have a really good team around me. I'm not an equal opportunity employer. I really only hire people, health professionals who have diabetes. I think they get it and offer a level.
That's an awesome.
When someone says, my sugar's high, and you don't want to start throwing, accusations at them. You want to know how it feels. And I think that's something our team does, because we live with it day in and day out. So the practice has expanded. We have 4 clinicians now. We have a dietitian, we have a nurse, we have a social worker, and myself. So we're able to offer a really full gamut of services. And our patients come to us not just to learn how to manage properly, but also for help with the blood sugar control. They need insight and they need direction and how to fine tune their insulin program, and whether they're on injections or a pump. And we now work with them all over the world, because we can use we use Skype quite a bit. We use Hangouts. We use what's it called, FaceTime, as well as the phone and all of the downloading options that are out there for pumps and sensors and meters. So we're able to communicate data back and forth pretty well. So it's very satisfying work. Like you said, it's really nice to be able to touch people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
I'm not getting rich doing this, but at the same time, I feel rich in spirit. I'm really able to help. We could really.
I say health is wealth, but also helping other people get health as well. Because I say, for me, it's like that's what turned me on to getting into coaching and making sure my degree was in Bachelor's of Nutrition Science and for myself. But then once I realized that I could help other people, it was like there was no turning back. It was just, and I said before the interview started, I'll never do anything else with my life unless it's around the diabetes community and helping people with diabetes, build them up and, help them realize that they have a lot more power, in control or controlling their decisions around diabetes than they think. So that's
it's
awesome.
A lot of work, but it's an addiction. When you help somebody and they really benefit and appreciate it, boy, that's good stuff. That keeps you going for a long time.
I agree.
Do you have any kids?
I don't have kids. I've been married for 8 years, and I always tell people, if the universe, makes me feel that I want to have a child, I will do it. But I'm just not. I'm not just going to do it to do it. So I'll wait. I'll wait until the urge hits. So
I've got 4, and one of them just got an award yesterday from her high school. It's that kind of stuff that just keeps you going. It's just like working. You work your heart out, to fingers to the bone, but when you get the patients who are doing better and they come back and they appreciate and all that just gets you all revved up.
I agree. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your sporty background, because I know you said that you have always been into exercising. So when you were diagnosed, and even throughout your life, did you have any issues with blood sugar management around exercise? Because I get that question all the time. Obviously, you can see my background. I'm huge into exercise. And it's definitely, even someone as me who I consider, I have a lot of experience and I feel pretty good about it, I still run into issues, whether my cortisol spikes up and, my epinephrine and norepinephrine go crazy and then my blood sugar spikes, or sometimes it just completely drops. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with that personally?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because your diabetes can impact your sports performance if it's not managed, but your exercise and sports can also interfere with your diabetes control. So it is challenging. So I tell people, if you can manage your diabetes with your sports activities, you can do anything, because it is difficult. You have these hormone surges, you have calories and glucose being burned at a rapid rate. I heard a lecture when I was in Toronto a few years ago about the discovery of insulin, and someone described the blood sugar control and really put it in perspective for me. If you add up all the sugar in the body, all the sugar in the bloodstream, I should say, it's equivalent to about 5 grams, which is a teaspoon. You have a teaspoon of glucose in your entire bloodstream, 5 grams. And this balancing act we're trying to play, where you're burning huge amounts, you're consuming big amounts, and and hormones affecting it. It's like walking on a tightrope with all this stuff weighted on both sides of you, and people throwing things at you at the same time to distract you. It's very challenging. So the first thing I usually do with all the clients that I work with is we talk about what are realistic expectations. I mean, you can't expect blood sugars between 70 and 110 all the time. If you're expecting that, you're just going to be disappointed. So we have to have realistic expectations. Like you said, you can do all the right things and strange things can still happen. So what we're trying to do is play the odds. We want to improve the likelihood you're going to have blood sugars where you want. For most of my clients, we'll set target ranges that are fairly liberal. 70 to 160 is pretty common, but we go wider than that. Pregnancy, we go narrower than that. But we can get in those kind of ranges 70% of the time. That's really good. That's not easy to accomplish.
I agree. And I think that everything you just said is very good. I think one of my favorite things that you said is not trying to be perfect, because I think that perfect isn't real. I kind of equate perfect to like a magical unicorn with rainbows shooting out of its butt. Like it's not, you're not going to ever catch it. It's so to focus on that is going to kind of take your focus away from what really matters, which is just, I kind of equate having diabetes to being on a winning sports team. Is like you're not going to win all the time, but you just want to have more wins than losses. And when you do have a loss, instead of beating yourself up or feeling really horrible about it and just being really negative towards yourself, you just kind of like a sports team. I know you don't have a video replay, but in your mind you kind of have like a replay. It's like, all right, well, here's the play I made, and here's what the play maybe I should have tried, and maybe I'll try that play next time. And then you just move forward and you just have more wins than losses, which I think allows people to feel more successful more often. And the more often we feel successful, the more motivated we are to keep moving forward. So yeah, I think the whole diabetes and sports thing, it goes well in so many ways, even though it can be really frustrating.
It's about improvement, not perfection.
Exactly. So yeah, so I know that you said you play basketball and you run and you cycle. Is that something you do every day? Because a lot of people ask me how often I exercise. So I'm going to put you on the spot. How often, what is your exercise regimen like?
I probably average 6 days a week. I try to fit something in, even if it's late at night, everyone's to bed, I'll get on the treadmill or the exercise, but I'll do something. I mean, my preference, if I had all the time and all the resources in the world, I'd be playing basketball 3-4 times a week, and I'd get to ride my bike long distances on the weekends. You don't always get to do that kind of stuff. So a lot of times it's just, a quick workout at the Y. I go to the Y in Roxborough.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, I just try to get something in every day I can, because I find that when I miss a workout, my blood sugars the next day are not where I want them. Yeah. And my mood and energy level is not where I want it either. So I try to emphasize that, exercise it's medicine for diabetes. It changes your body's insulin sensitivity.
Immediately.
Chemically, there are changes that occur, but they don't last that long.
Right.
Your blood pressure changes, your cholesterol, your lipids change, serotonin levels, everything changes when you work out, but it goes back to the way it was usually by the next day. Right. So I ask people, if your doctor prescribes medicine for you, do you take it 3 times a week or do you take it every day? You take a pill a day. That's really the best way to go.
That's a good way to look at it. And I was going to say, even for me, sure. See, this is why I love these interviews, guys, because this is real life. There's no camera crew here. There's no lighting crew. Things happen. We're just kind of 2 people sitting in our houses talking about diabetes. So that's what I love about these interviews. But I was going to say, for me, when when I exercise 5 to 6 days a week as well. And if I go more than a day or two without exercising, I have to change my basal rate on my pump. Like I have to increase it by 0.5 of a unit, because it immediately within 2 days, I need more insulin, not a ton more, but I need a little bit more because my body's not getting that medicine, like you said, from the exercise, which is awesome.
It's
so
actually more challenging when people work out just 2 or 3 times a week, because their sensitivity to insulin goes up and down all week long. And it's hard to predict on any given day how well their insulin's going to function. It's much better to get a little bit of activity each day. It maintains a nice high level of insulin sensitivity pretty much all the time.
Yeah, and I actually like to say, and you said a little bit of activity, because I think people get really nervous and worried. Sometimes they see my background, they say, oh, look at all these weights and all these kettlebells. And it's like, I always tell people, it's not about how intense the exercise. You could go for a walk, and I recommend people, I was like, go outside in nature, take a walk in the park, take a walk around your neighborhood. Are you on board with that, or do you think exercise has to be at a certain level of intensity for it to be effective? What are your thoughts?
Sometimes my workout consists of like 40 minutes of serious house cleaning, or mowing the lawn. I got a push mower. Could be my workout some days if things are
Sweet. Awesome. So I'm glad you said that. So you're hearing it here, guys. Gary Scheiner is saying, like I always say, you take a walk, push a lawnmower, if you're home alone, turn up the music and dance around your house like a crazy person. If that's exercise, you don't have to spend an hour in a gym to say, I exercise today. Give yourself that freedom to do whatever it is, as long as you're moving consistently for 30 minutes or so. I mean, that's all it really takes. So cool. So I'm going to ask you, as I always do to everyone that comes on this show, what are Gary Scheiner's top 3 tips for living well with diabetes? And I think one day I'll probably go through all these interviews and compile this list, because they're all different and they're all so good. So I'm actually excited to hear what yours are.
Well, I really love old Clint Eastwood Westerns. And one of the lines, I guess it was in his Dirty Harry movies, one of my favorite lines was, a man's got to know his limitations. A woman too, got to know your limitations. And that's where I think you can be your own worst enemy if you expect perfection, if you're expecting too much. Have realistic expectations about what you can do, and know when you need to get help, because this is a very, very complicated condition. Consider all the specialists that work with people with diabetes. It's not an easy thing to manage independently. It's almost impossible to manage independently. So we all got to know our limitations. I mean, if you're not an expert when it comes to weight control or exercise or all the finer points of juggling insulin doses, work with someone who can help you with those things. That's what we're here for. I think the diabetes educators are in a great position to offer that kind of help, because we do have a pretty well-rounded background, and we can touch on every aspect of the diabetes care. I named my practice Integrated Diabetes Services just for that reason, because we try to integrate all the multitude of things that affect diabetes care on a day-to-day basis, so that we can work with our clients on all the different aspects, not just one little piece. So I guess that's one key. Other keys. I mean, I know from experience that people who either keep records or analyze their own data do seem to do better.
Managing what you measure. I am a freak about that. I guess I always say you can't manage what you don't measure. So yeah.
There's an accountability I think you have when either you're documenting or you're looking at data of your own. And when you look at it, you have to be somewhat impartial. And look at it like a third party and say, all right, this person is having high readings before dinner, maybe they're snacking too much in the afternoon, whatever the case is. So I think the documentation, having information in an organized manner really helps. Our website has log sheets that we have for free for people who want them. We've got log sheets for people who are just checking 4 times a day. We got log sheets for pump users, for athletes, for all different populations. So you can pick and choose what type of log sheets you want to use. And they could either be printed out or you can type the data right onto the forms, because it's an electronic document. So
that's an awesome resource. Yeah.
The documentation is really helpful. And I think probably a third key to all this is keep a sense of humor about it. If you get too down, and mental health issues are so prevalent in diabetes, you really do have to keep things in perspective and
Absolutely. I was going to say that's one of my favorite memes online is that laughter is the best medicine unless you're diabetic, and then it's insulin, but then laughter comes second, which always makes me laugh. But I agree wholeheartedly. And I would say it's one of the, I mean, obviously I've been married for 8 years, but I mean, my husband is probably one of the funniest people I know. And he's also my biggest supporter. And, you know, when we met, he knew nothing about diabetes, and now he knows more about diabetes than I would venture to say most people that actually live with it, because he's very much into science. He's very smart, and he's just learns, but he knows that more than anything that I need is that I need him to make me laugh. And it's very helpful. I agree. Yeah. So yeah, so
there's life beyond diabetes and all the numbers involved with it. And we never want diabetes to dominate someone's life.
Yeah.
Emphasize that from the get-go with the people we work with. If we feel like you're working so hard at it that it's getting in the way of the things you enjoy, we got to ease up. But we also can't ignore it, because then the blood sugars are going to interfere with your quality of life.
Absolutely.
So, you know, managing the diabetes is just a means to other things. It's a means to living a long, healthy life. It's a means to performing well in sports. It's a means towards intellectual achievement. You can't function. Your brain, nothing functions as well when the diabetes is poorly managed. So it's just a means towards other things.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that. But yeah, I agree. Trying to do anything if your blood sugar is high is like, you might as well just forget it. Because really all you want to do is go to sleep or yell at someone. So, so yeah, that's awesome. So before we wrap this up, this has been awesome, but is there anything else that you're working on currently that, you know, you want to say or let anybody know about? Because you've given us so much good stuff now. And like I always say on the video, everything Gary does and all his links are going to be right under the YouTube video. So you're going to be able to access them right underneath. Just scroll down.
I just had a new book published in the last couple of weeks by the American Diabetes Association. It's called Practical CGM, and it's both for health professionals and for people with type 1, some higher level patients who want to learn how to utilize continuous monitors more effectively. It gets into interpreting the data from downloads, also how to make better use in real time of the alerts, the trending information, and the numbers that show up, and how to overcome some of the challenges that are inherent in some of the systems. So that book's available through my office as well as through the ADA. You know, of course, the book I'm best known for is Think Like a Pancreas. Yeah. That's been a bestseller in the type 1 field for a while. My practice is always open to taking on new clients. If anybody wants information, they can go to our website or they can call our toll-free number. We have an online school called Type 1 University. It has 10 different courses that people can watch that focus on different aspects of diabetes care. There's one course specifically for pump users to learn how to make more effective use of the advanced pump features. There's a course on weight control for insulin users, because it's a major challenge, learning how to be able to manage one's weight and controlling the blood sugars effectively. So that's called Type 1 University. So it's type 1 type1university.com. You'll have the info.
I will. Yeah, no. And I mean, I think everybody out there, what you're doing is amazing, because you're offering us all of these resources for free. Obviously, Type 1 University is I think it's on YouTube, right? I've checked it out, or on your website. And I mean, it's like, use these resources. These are, amazing, amazing things to have available, and, just go use them. Check out the links. Go see what Gary's got to offer, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
We have a blog that we update pretty often. That's through our website. It's called the Thinking Like a Pancreas blog. You just go through our main website. You'll see all the links to the blog there. So we try to keep everybody up to date on what's going on in the industry and offer some commentary and insight. And we have a newsletter that we publish called Diabetes Bites that goes out once or twice a month. It's an e-newsletter. Anybody who wants to be on the list, we have a sign-in on our website for that. I'm more than happy to add them to the list. Cool.
That's awesome. I am so excited that I got the chance to interview and actually virtually meet you. And now you're probably going to have to, shoo me away, because I'm going to come look at your
I want you to come visit.
I am. I'm going to come visit. You're going to see me soon. I promise you. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I've very much enjoyed this. I hope everybody out there has enjoyed this, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Gary, and I'll catch you later.
My pleasure, Danielle.